Welcome back to Grandma's Pillbox, episode 45.
45?
45. For those of you who haven't been here before, we are Grandma's Pillbox. We're a podcast where we talk about a whole bunch of different things. Sports, medicine, psychology, books, Sasquatch, disc golf, vitamins.
You name it.
You literally name it. We've talked about it. History, aliens, saunas,
all sorts of stuff. And
literally everything.
we have today joining us no longer Crypto Hoops, but Full Court Press. This is not a special interview episode or whatever. Alvin wanted to join us on this episode, so we're glad to have you on.
Yes, we are.
And we hope the audience enjoys the enlarged conversation. Would you vocabularize that as such?
I'm not really sure how else to put it.
Enlarged conversation.
Enlarged convo. In the description, check out Full Court Press. Go drop a follow, give them a like, leave a comment, say that the Pillbox Boys sent you.
I'm going to speak for you, Albin. He's changing from crypto and NBA content to strictly NBA content on Full Court Press. So if you want to catch your NBA news with the season coming up very quickly, go check him out, give him a sub, like his videos, and yes. I don't know, Albin.
Help
do you
me
wanna...
get to 300. Yeah. Help us get to 300 subs. We got big things coming along the way, especially when it comes to in-depth analysis and just overall production value. We're going to step things up this NBA season, and you're going to want to be there.
Let's go. Great time. Great time to do it.
Love to hear it.
Love to hear it.
Liam, do you want to give a quick breakdown of the two topics we're talking about today?
Yeah, so we've got two main topics we're going to be discussing in today's pod. The first one is very topical. Actually, they're both very topical. But the first one is going to be doping in sports. We're going to discuss a few of the main historical points that have happened in doping. A few things that might come to mind when you guys think of doping. We'll try and cover those.
And then maybe the moral or ethical dilemmas that come with doping, our takes, opinions on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, wait, did you say this is in accordance to the UFC dropping USADA as say it?
Yeah, so we'll I'll discuss this in depth in a little bit, but it is based around the current event that USADA has announced UFC's announced that they're dropping USADA at the start of next year. I'm also a little teaser going to give my picks for UFC 294, which goes on this weekend. Okay. Following doping is something that's going on that's very serious right now, which is the conflict in the Middle East.
Israel.
Mm-hmm. The Israel-Palestinian conflict. So, we're going to discuss a little timeline on some of the events that are going on right now, give our thoughts, our feelings about it, and kind of just, I think, let the conversation flow to where it's going to go.
Our own commentary.
Yeah. And we've got myself, Liam, Thomas, and Albin here, and we're going to put on a show for you guys today. So let's get to it.
Please enjoy. So UFC or doping, steroid usage.
Yes.
PEDs.
Yeah, start on a lighter note, or should I say a more buff note.
Albin, I need you to disclose, do you use PEDs?
Of course. How else would I get this big?
Creatine does not
quick
count.
flex for the camera.
Oh! Quick numbers for the audience to know. Max squat. Thomas, you go first.
Max squat?
Yeah, back squat with a barbell.
I haven't fully tested it out. I've done 225 for about 8 reps.
Mm-hmm.
So, interpolate that data. Let's say I have done 3 plates on the Smith machine.
You're moving mass. That's what you're trying to tell us.
If I'm being honest, my 1 rep max would probably be 300.
300.
Solid.
That's a great number. Alvin?
Are we talking ass to the grass or 90 degrees? Because I'm a 90-degree squatter, to be honest.
I'm an ass to the grass squatter.
If we're going that, my max would be probably just over 2 plates.
Okay.
So about like 235 to 245.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking 90, At my peak, I was doing 295 for 2 reps.
The most I've ever done was 245 ass to grass. I don't remember how many reps, so
Okay.
I'm right around that range as well.
And then
So-
do we want to do bench? For me, bench 220, 225. Well, but that's incline, so I don't know.
Flat bench
Flat.
or probably
Flat, 225. I haven't tried incline 225.
Oh, okay.
So flat is.
Flat is 225. That's good.
I haven't done my PR in a while. I've been repping 205 for 3 to 4 reps. I'm gonna PR by the end of the year though, so I'm hoping to hit 2 plates. That's my goal.
That's
2
your goal.
plates. So officially on the record 205, but we're moving up.
I'm sitting. I haven't benched in forever, and I've got an arm injury, but I believe my peak was like body weight 195.
Solid.
So, a cool goal for me, I guess, could be to break the 200 barrier by the end of the year. That might be something that I go for.
Yeah, with if your elbow.
If my
Feels
elbow
better.
feels better, yeah. Yeah, that's
You should take something for that.
Yeah, I should. You know what I should take is some steroids, but not any steroids.
HGH.
I want to take the steroids that the ancients used. So let's run over a little bit of history of ancient times to the early 20th century of doping. So there wasn't really anything too crazy back then. It was mostly just special diets. I assume a lot of meat and a lot of carbs for energy and protein.
What I've heard is that they like during the Romans or the Greek times they would eat hearts and testicles because they thought it would help them out,
Yeah.
and that's like hinting like testosterone or
Uh-huh.
testosterone at least coming from the testicles. I don't know
Yeah.
about the heart.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we see that all the way up until like recently with the Liver King.
Allegedly, he
Oh.
ate livers.
He ate them, but that wasn't all he was eating.
True.
He was eating a lot of IUs of
Big-
steroids.
Big time marketer right there.
Big time. Genius marketer.
Yes, sir.
It also, ChatGPT tells me that they also consumed potions to improve their durability, or to improve their durabilities. After asking about those potions, they list that the concoctions were likely dangerous with ingredients such as opium and strychnine. Google what is
Yeah,
strychnine.
That sounds interesting.
It is a white, odorless, and bitter crystalline powder that is to be taken by the mouth.
Crack.
It's
Maybe?
it's highly toxic. It's used for killing small rodents and birds. So it's just like a rat poison.
I think it might be pre-workout.
People were taking rat poison as pre-workout. That is madness.
Just imagine like on the streets they're selling that.
Oh my god, dude! Like right outside the Coliseum. Like,
get
Get your potions! Get your potions!
Right before someone's big fight, this will help you win.
Yeah, and then they just drop dead.
It doesn't relate, but have you seen? I don't think you have. Monty Python's Holy Grail,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they're like getting ready for the rock or what is it, stoning?
Mm-hmm.
There's just like a guy selling like get your stones here, get your, I'll take 2 stones and whatever. It's just, it reminds me of that. Just
Yeah.
like you said, like marketing, standing outside the Coliseum selling.
Yeah.
I feel, would they wouldn't be selling potions outside the market though. Like, would it be more government? Like,
It would probably be like the promoters, like maybe the guys that like the managers of the fighters or the people who own the Coliseum are like walking through the back as like the guys are sitting there warming up ready to go, and they're like, take this.
just the Fortnite potion.
Yeah. Put that in there. But some crazy stuff. Most of it being natural and of the stimulant variety was used then. When we get to World War II, that's when things get a little crazier. Amphetamines were used.
Invented speed. I don't know. Invented. I just from a documentary, Hitler and his government invented speed or just something similar to that methamphetamine.
Yeah.
To give to their soldiers because it reduced fear and like gave you tons of energy so you didn't have to sleep.
Yep. Exactly.
And got this straight from Joe Rogan, but there's like a footage of Hitler at like the Olympics where he's just
tweaking.
he's tweaking.
And then he watches Jesse Owens win the gold medal.
Is that the thing that they give snipers if they like want to calm themselves down?
Amphetamines?
I feel like I've heard that sometimes they take something to
They
calm their
take
nerves.
something to calm their nerves. That,
Melatonin?
Maybe. You're gonna miss the kill.
I'm not knowledgeable enough on like the difference in like the body reaction from like an opiate or an amphetamine or something like that, but that makes so much sense. Another point, 1960 was a big was when like, the world kind of had the attention brought to the issue of doping during the Rome Olympics. A Danish cyclist, Knut Jensen, died during a race.
He got a stroke and from heat exhaustion or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then because of him getting a stroke, he fell and I think just hit his head super hard, which caused him to die. So then everyone was like, "Why is he? I guess
Why is he having a stroke?
Yeah, and
He's
then they investigated.
Yep, amphetamines and alcohol were in his blood system.
Yeah, they thought like alcohol as like was a PED back then.
Oh God, couldn't be farther from the truth. But you know, that might be what the snipers are given to help calm the nerves a little bit.
Maybe.
1972 is when anabolic steroids really came on the scene, starting with weightlifters, and then it spread to other sports.
So it went from cyclists as the big thing in Olympic sports for doping, and then the big shift in media came towards the MLB.
Yep.
Because I guess like the home run like amount surged once like some time point, and
Mark McGwire, right?
Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa. Us being Chicago people, we all know about Sammy Sosa. Also Jason Giambi. That specific scandal is called the Balco scandal, which is an acronym for Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative, which literally was a lab that was producing these odorless, clear drugs and just sending them to different athletes, just like mass shipping them to athletes, and then they would take them, and then that was just a massive scandal.
Well, from the beginning of the doping history, once it began starting, it was originally invented because either kids that weren't growing right, they would help them give these growth hormones, and then as well as people that suffer from accidents, it helped them regain muscle and stuff. So it was used for that medicinal purpose. But then it was started to be given to athletes at that time as well. And I wanted to add with the MLB stuff is they were also going through a thing where the players were boycotting and whatnot for pay, and that was getting bigger attention. And the policy surrounding doping was just that if you get caught with the physical thing or any sign of it, then you get in trouble. But they weren't going to test you.
Yeah.
So you could still take it. You just had to be secretive about it.
Yeah.
I guess. And the thing that happened was there was a reporter in the locker room for one of the MLB players, and he saw this pill thing with an extremely long name that he didn't understand. So he's like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And that I guess might have. I don't know if that's the same scandal that you were talking about, but you could literally find it in newspapers or whatever journals to where they're selling the dope. I was gonna say dope, but selling the steroids and whatnot.
Bro, that sounds like eerily similar to what might happen if we get the Neuralink. It's originally going to be used to help people that maybe have a disability or things like that, and then eventually it's going to get abused.
And have super soldiers.
We're going to have cyborgs running around.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. And then
I just want to hold it.
massive one that probably most of you guys know is Lance Armstrong.
Yep.
Mr. Seven Tour de France's in a row, gets caught with steroids.
What I thought was interesting for that was that the doping wasn't for, to gain, I guess, in a sense, a recovery or a muscle building aspect. It was to increase his body's production of red blood cells, which helps your endurance.
Does it also help with oxygen?
Well, red blood cells transfer oxygen, so in a sense, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I never investigated until today.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's like the main reason that UFC fighters have used PEDs, specifically EPO, is because it just shoots up your red blood cell count, causes you to have unlimited cardio.
Yeah.
And if you have unlimited cardio, you're like Nate Diaz, you can fight forever. The famous thing with Nate Diaz is if a fight was 100 rounds, Nate Diaz would be undefeated. Because nobody's beating that man if the fight just like keeps going. Nobody's beating him. And that brings us to today and recently, which has been the UFC and their termination of their deal with USADA. So come January 1st, USADA will not be testing UFC athletes anymore. It'll be, I believe, a combination of their own testing measures and also an organization that tests hundreds of sports around the world. So there's a lot of conflict within it. People think that the sport's gonna start not being clean anymore. Like people are gonna be allowed to start taking steroids because the UFC is gonna have control over every aspect of it. So maybe there's gonna be certain things they allow or certain people that they turn a blind eye to, i.e. Conor McGregor. Personally, I'm a fan of it.
I have mixed feelings because it's like, even with other sports, to me it's like I want to see how good these people are without any enhancements. Just show me who's the actual best athlete out there in their respective sport. But at the same time, it's like let's push the limits of what humans can really do.
Yeah, exactly.
let's see how high they can jump, how much they can lift, how good of a fighter they can be. So it's kind of like if we just put them on these drugs and they become superhumans, what are our limitations? What are our capabilities? So it's kind of a mixed bag for me.
Fair.
For me, I'm thinking about gambling and transparency because UFC, the biggest thing about it is gambling. You have to be honest. It's not just the fight. It's the people who want to win money on the fight.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when money's involved, there's a big controversy. So let's say I put my money on the guy that's going against McGregor because I want the underdog to win. And I think McGregor, he took steroids in the past, but I'm under the assumption that he went natty, in quotes, for the fight. But then he's not being transparent at all about it. So once the fight comes down, and then after the fight, let's say I lost all my money, I bet my life savings on it, and just like literally a day after, Conor McGregor's like, he just shows the list of drugs. Like his rep salesman, random name, like is like, fuck it, I'm gonna send out this list of drugs, i.e. Liver King's person or whatever. Send out this list of drugs that he's been taking. Oh my god, I didn't know this guy was on this many drugs and steroids. I would have maybe placed my money on him. So I think I'm for. I'm not for. I don't know what my
against.
I'm not for or against.
Yeah.
In the middle.
I'm in the middle. I just think it'd be better to be transparent about it and allow doping.
I agree. I think transparency is a key on what you were just saying because who's to say that there's not those athletes that are at the top of the game that have enough money to evade modern doping practice or modern anti-doping practices.
LeBron James.
Also, a lot of UFC fighters that are in Russia and overseas where they're not as easily accessible by the United States Anti-Doping Agency. Like I feel like if we just say, okay, you can do whatever, that's almost more transparent than if if you're not allowed to, because then you're almost like you've got like you've got like a rug pulled over your head. You're under the assumption that everybody's clean. That might be a little like cynical, thinking, oh, like but people are gonna cheat.
True.
People are gonna try and make the best, and I think if we just, it's like the debate on like legalizing drugs in the United States. If you keep it illegal, there's gonna be still people who need to get their fix and need to do it, and then they're gonna go out and try and get it, and then it's gonna be laced with fentanyl and they're gonna die. Or there's gonna be avenues for them to get it that's clean because it's legal all across the country.
I'd agree with that.
I want to see some jack motherfuckers kick each other in the head.
yeah. From the meathead perspective, that's what we want to see. That's what we paid for, Dana White.
That's right, Dana. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see moving forward what happens. I'm always excited for the future of the UFC.
Just to touch back on what Tom said, I also agree that transparency is a huge thing, because if I know like this person's on that, there's a lot more openness for debate. Be like, say Khabib never did any steroids and Conor McGregor did. If they fought and Khabib won and everyone knew that Conor was on steroids, it would be more people would be able to rank Khabib higher if they don't already have him ranked higher already.
Right. Because I mean, but then I agree with you. I don't know what I was going to say there.
The thing with like Neil Armstrong is that he wasn't the only person doping.
Yeah.
Every other cyclist was probably doping as well. He was just the one doper that won.
Yeah, wasn't it like if you look at every single person in one of his Tour de France wins, you have to go down like 37 spots to find the first guy who like was clean.
Yeah.
That's madness. And
so that's the thing, like without transparency, you have to guess whether they're on or off it. And if you don't want to guess, then you have to have super invasive testing, where I heard this one guy came back from the gym and the testing dude literally like followed him into the shower to make sure he wasn't like shooting up, in the shower or whatever.
Yeah. There's a story of John Jones hiding under a ring for like 8 hours to try and avoid a testing person. There's a story of on the fight morning, Alexander Volkanovski, who's fighting this weekend, got woken up at 6:30 to take a drug test on the day of his fight.
That's insane.
Like there's USADA's got some like kind of archaic testing protocols. So I think in general this is going to be good for the sport.
Yeah, probably, but that transparency thing is huge.
Yeah.
Especially when I don't know how heated people get about UFC rankings, but if it was transparent in the NBA, I feel like there'd be a lot of different opinions. But I digress.
Yeah, I guess my ignorant mind to NBA just assumes that everybody's clean.
Yeah, same.
What I've heard recently is that they have their unions and whatever player parties where they have rules already, that they have rules on when they can get tested. They have rules like if it gets released to the media or not, and that was already set in stone before, or maybe like during the MLB scandals and stuff, where all the focus was on doping in MLB, whereas in basketball, like it was already set where, because there were basketball players, like you said, LeBron James. Who knows?
Chael Sonnen knows.
Yeah, he does.
I go the same guy as LeBron James.
The largest arms in. Okay.
I mean, not to discredit his work ethic, but what is he? 38.
38, yeah.
38 years old, going on 20 years, almost gonna be
Over.
20 plus.
Over.
Oh yeah, because
Is it year 21 for him?
like, just the general human body is, your peak is 25 to 30 or something like that, or
It's-
like peak
yeah.
performance.
Yeah, it
25
depends on
to
the sport for
35,
sure.
yeah.
But this man has been able to upkeep his performance all the way to almost to his 40s now.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that he's still not gonna maybe at the same minutes or intensity when he's 40, but
Mhm.
I'm assuming he's still gonna try to clutch up or play in the big minutes. Where how is he upkeeping his fucking stamina, his strength, his endurance?
Yeah,
Yeah, this kind of goes with what you said earlier, Liam, with like some guys have enough money to evade
mm-hmm.
certain things, or the league or whatever organization might turn a blind eye depending on who's bringing in the most money.
Right.
So,
Right.
just things to think about.
Things to think about. Overall, doping in sports has like a complicated history, and I think it's something cool to like research on and look up on, and I enjoyed doing a little bit of research on it.
It also started up. It played a part in the drug war in America,
Did it?
the doping stuff, because it became a big thing with Olympics and whatnot,
Mhm.
and then almost epidemic / pandemic, whatever,
Mhm.
where all these people taking, or this giant influx of PEDs is causing people to have heart attacks, these testicle shrinkages and whatnot. So it's like a health crisis where America is like, we need to work on the health of our citizens, so we're gonna fight the drugs. And then I guess doping was part of that.
Yeah.
Excluding marijuana and everything else that's happened through history, the opioid crisis, doping did play a part in the starting of that, I guess.
Everything's connected. There's actually before we move on, there's a funny story of a guy named Nick Diaz, who is the older brother of Nate Diaz, who popped for he was fighting in an organization in Japan called Pride, and he popped for marijuana, and the doctor said that the amount of marijuana he had in his system, there was no doubt that he was high during the fight. And he ended the move that he hit on the guy is I believe it's an omoplata, which is a incredibly technical submission to hit on somebody, and it's the only one that's ever been hit in MMA history. And
Wow.
he hit it while he was just baked out of his mind in the middle of an MMA fight.
Maybe it helped him focus.
It might have. I mean, those guys probably train high all the time. Help you get into like the flow state, especially with jiu-jitsu, dude. Like, cause you're just like you're running through like different moves in your head. It's like chess. You're running through different moves, trying to figure out which direction your opponent's gonna go, which direction you're gonna go. Are you gonna lay a trap here? Are you gonna just bull rush your way in and try and beat them to a spot? It's amazing. It's amazing. Great sport. These nuts.
Yes, that's a perfect segue.
Yes, it is. I want to give my picks for UFC 294 real quick.
Do that while I go to that.
Okay. UFC 294 sponsored by Better. No, I'm just kidding. I wish. Dude, imagine getting like a
First sponsor.
a betting sponsor. This fight is the fight start at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Ooh,
Yeah.
early.
They're in Abu Dhabi,
Makes sense.
which also makes sense. A lot of these names that I'm going to read off. So I'm going to start from the main event and work my way down, and I'm picking winners here. Islam Makhachev, Hamzat Chimaev, Magomed Ankalaev. Forgot his first name, but Aliskerov. Saeed Nurmagomedov. All Russian fighters.
Yeah, I was gonna say these all seem like Khabib guys.
Yeah. Muhammad Makayev. Now we'll get to some U.S. guys. Trevor Peak, Victor Henry, and Cedric Dumas.
Very nice.
So, if you guys want to run a 9-leg parlay, there you go.
Not financial advice.
Not financial advice, not betting advice.
This is live TV.
Should have popped a little bit of pre right before.
Should have popped that ancient stuff. That rat poison.
Is that the blue one?
Yeah, this shit is awful.
Speaking of doping.
It's got food coloring in it.
Alvin, is there a reason to have food coloring in pre-workout?
I don't know. I don't take pre-workout.
Do you want to? You want this?
No, I'm good.
It's a gift.
I only take the best steroids.
You know,
I have this.
But
Me and
you
LeBron have the same guy.
But have you heard of like the things with like red 40, blue 1, like this stuff like, that they put in food and it's
I
just
know it's
awful
not good
for you?
Yeah, I know it's not good for you. I haven't done too much research in it, but at the same time, it's probably gonna be hard for me to avoid it. But I mean, I'm not the person putting the ingredients in. I'm
Like,
just consuming it.
Do they put red 40 in the red Gatorades?
Yep, all the original Gatorades all have food coloring in them.
That's I don't.
I've been on the non-food coloring grind for years, and like kind of like the organic food grind, and like it's nice to see that like recently it feels like it's kind of more hitting like the mainstream. Problem is it's so expensive to eat like healthy and organic, but you can feel the difference, dude. When you put shit in your body, you just become inflamed and like irritable, and you lose energy. But if you're fueling your body with like healthy natural things, you just feel a million times better.
Yeah.
So,
Thomas, is the organic thing a scam according to your professor from last video?
I didn't get the chance to email him and confirm. We're not gonna have this debate again.
maybe organic wasn't the right word, but that's just a buzzword that I like to use. But not processed is probably better.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to. We had our little silly talk about steroids, drugs, and now I'd like to
Let's get serious.
move the center of attention to where almost all media, I would say, is focusing on in today's media cycle.
Definitely.
The Israel-Palestine conflict. October 7th, so today is October 17th, more than a week after the conflict. October 7th, Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, where Hamas at 6:30 in the morning fired 5,000 rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel, overriding the Iron Dome that is Israel, or that's what Israel has. It's like a defense system to stop rockets going into Israel, but if you shoot so many rockets, it can only stop so much. So they were able to get some in. They flooded the border. You can find footage of them using like excavators, literally just ramming down the walls and shit. They are infiltrating military bases and then horrifically going into settlements, taking hostages, killing people. I think there was a news article about babies unfortunately also getting killed, which just sucks.
Was that real news though?
When it originally came out on X, it wasn't confirmed, but once it's out there, then it can already spread right away.
Yes.
So the person took down their tweet, but then I don't know. I saw later that it actually got confirmed. But
because I know that the White House walked back some comments about that.
But that's a little subject I want to touch on later in the conversation.
Sure.
I'm not going to go through every day of the event, but now, as of today, honestly, these numbers might not even be accurate, but the Israel death toll is 1,400 people more than that. Palestinian death toll around 3,000, and then thousands more are injured. The big thing that happened today was the hospital, the Al-Hi hospital in Gaza, was bombed. I don't know the specific time, but it was bombed. I'm gonna say by Israel, not yet confirmed, but most likely it's Israel.
Investigations afterwards and pictures of the aftermath were shown. The bomb appeared to hit the courtyard of the hospital, and a small crater confirms that it was a deflected missile rather than an Israel-specific bomb.
So people can't like stay in their homes; they're getting displaced out on the streets. Hospitals, a place of helping hurt people. People go there to congregate and stay safe because it's a war crime to shoot schools, hospitals, and whatnot. So Israel, maybe you'd expect them not to shoot at hospitals, but
I think there was an official comment by the Israeli government saying that it was a misfire, quote unquote, that it wasn't intended for the hospital to be hit.
They rolled back and said it was some jihad group that misfired. So what comments can you trust from the Israel government?
Exactly. The propaganda pushing is very much alive in this.
I don't know.
Day and
I don't know
age.
if it got canceled. I think it's still happening. But Biden also announced that he's going to Israel on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. We'll see if he actually does that. I'll just get to it right now. But with X as a platform, it's more dangerous than ever. I don't know.
The community notes tries their best to always get the correct information out there. It's just very hard when things are happening like quickly and daily, and you know how the news is, try to push out news as quick as possible so you're the first one to get it out there.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter if it's accurate or not.
The real big controversy, just from what I've paid attention to today, is that Al Jazeera, the Qatari news network, is one of the few people that have journalists on the ground there. Because why the fuck do you want to be there? You're just gonna get shot by the Israeli government. But that's not funny. But the thing is, like, you're just looking at Al Jazeera for news, and then what happened on X was some either bot, random person claimed to be from Al Jazeera, and then as soon as like the bombing happened, they said it was the Islamic Jihad group, and then once that got popular and circulated, he deleted his tweets and like changed his profile picture and stuff, and like just like the Al Jazeera had to make a tweet saying this person is not part of our team, don't listen to news from him. And X is so dangerous because
Yeah, that could happen like all the time. People can make bot accounts, buy followers. It's hard to find reliable news. Even with mainstream media, you can't really trust them because they're all pushing one side or another. They try to, in my opinion, they try to point you in a direction that they would prefer. Because if you look at who owns the mainstream media companies, it's BlackRock, Vanguard, all these big money hedge funds, institutions. So that's what you gotta like watch out for sometimes.
it's just awful. Like I've been so desensitized to, I guess, bad news. Like when you hear people getting killed just through the news, it maybe doesn't hit your heart, or at least mine, right away, because you're used to school shootings or like gang violence or just unfortunate accidents that happen in the U.S. that you're like, it's normal for a person to die.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up in my bed, I think junior year, so about 2 years ago, and hearing about the Ukraine-Russia stuff.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit. And it's already been 2 years since then, and it's still going on.
Right.
But
This one seems more like, well, because it's in the limelight as well, but it just seems like it's been deadlier and everything. But even when the Russia-Ukraine war started out, you saw a bunch of news outlets posting videos and everything. So it's kind of like the same things going on here, but I do think that this one is more bad blood than Ukraine and Russia, in my opinion. I feel like there's more
one
history.
thing that I find nuts, I don't remember too much, but like Israel has its own X account, so they can post
Yeah.
what they want, and since so much of the world, at least in the public eye, is pro-Israel, whatever Israel says is what's going to get regurgitated by
people.
by a lot of people.
Mhm.
So not only is this an atrocious war on the ground, but it's just a campaign to sway public opinion.
Agreed. Plus, Palestine has no official army. They don't have weapons. Like the Palestinian people really don't have weapons. Hamas and some of these other groups, they might get weapons from other places.
Iran.
Yeah, Iran, for example. But the Palestinian people, they don't have an army, and no X account. I'm not sure about Instagram. I know Israel even went after. It was either Bella or Gigi Hadid saying that she needed to condemn Hamas and take sides with Israel. I don't know if you have seen that, and I think she is part Palestinian too. But they're like trying to bribe celebrities to take their side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen a lot of posts, even LeBron James, as we mentioned earlier in the video. He even made a post. I'm sure it's his PR team, of course. I don't think LeBron actually is looking at any of this news. I'm sure his PR team made
I
a
don't
post
even
about
think he's
it.
probably allowed to give his true, honest opinion, because
Yeah.
because if you go let's say following the aftermath, LeBron James posts "Free Palestine," it's going to make him one of the most hated. Like, well, I can't predict
What the reaction would be,
yeah, but in my honest prediction would be that LeBron James will become the most hated player in the public eye just for saying "Free Palestine," because then media would go after him. All these journalists make up stories right away about him, and no matter what the support is in the comments, you're gonna have the mass
Exactly.
media against him.
Right. Which is also why it's hard for these people to speak out, especially celebrities, because they're gonna lose that status once you go against the matrix. You know? Once you go against the system, it's kind of hard to get back on their good side.
Hearing about the hospital thing today, though, just
Yeah, that's awful.
it hit a bad thing in my heart because
And then trying to blame it on someone else,
the
allegedly.
dehumanization happening because of what's going on is what cripples me.
Yeah, you touched on desensitization of people dying and stuff. I saw a video where people were asked if America is safer now than it was however many years ago, and people said that's not safer now. But if you look at statistics with crime rates and everything, it is much safer than it was, say, 50 years ago or so. And the reason why people say that's all psychology is because what's always in the news? It's bad things that happen, more so than not. That's why you always see these tragedies. When you're pushing that out all the time, people think it's happening all the time. And in a sense, yes, it is. But at the same time, that's not the only thing that's happening. Fear sells, so that's what they're going to put out there.
What saddens me is that if this goes on for longer than a month, Americans are going to stop paying attention, or at least most people. Like with Ukraine stuff, like sure, the media kept reporting like day 200 of the war and whatnot, but just from my perspective, I didn't notice as much of a focus on it from a lot of people, following a long time period afterwards, but it was an ongoing war that was happening every day. Like when I went to Lithuania, obviously America is separated by 2 oceans from every conflict, unless it's at the border. But that much distance, you can only pay attention so much, whereas people need to go back to their jobs, pay attention to what's going on with their friends. Because if I paid attention to this conflict so much in the past week that if I tried to do this for a whole month,
You might go crazy.
I'd break down.
Yeah.
This person that I've been getting my commentary on for this, Hassan, he streams almost every day, like 8 hours or whatever, covering this stuff. For 8 hours a day, your job is dedicated to covering these atrocities, and especially he's on the side of Palestinians, of course, and then just seeing, I don't know,
The things he's seen is probably insane. The amount of videos that he's had to watch, who knows what he's seen, It's definitely got to take a toll on him once all of this is over.
When this was happening, like October 8th, 8th, I was scrolling YouTube and there was like drone footage showing what Gaza looked like after like the bombings and stuff. One day of bombings, it looks like a Fallout game.
Yeah.
Like Fallout.
I think there's a before and after video that I saw of how nice and clean Gaza looked, and then afterwards it's all rubble. It's all gray. Before you had greenery, like white tile flooring. It was like really nice. Now it's all just gray, cement, bricks,
But
everything.
that's not the bullet. I click on the comments. Every comment, these guys deserve to die. Kill every one of them, turning into a parking lot.
Right.
And I was like, that is nuts.
Right.
That's the immediate reaction, where you call for
The death of an entire people.
yes, and I understand the viewpoint where you say the terrorists don't deserve to live. That's still pushing it, but they went into towns, did these atrocious things. Nothing's 100% certain, but you can hate terrorists, but if you're gonna transfer that hate to the entire population that lives in a fucking tiny strip of land, that's nuts to me.
And it's a population that, like, over the past 70 years has just almost had like 10 times the amount of killings versus like the Israeli side. I mean, like,
It's an open air prison, I think, is what UN or any humanity type of program labels it as. It's an open air prison because they have a giant cement wall or fence, whatever, surrounding the whole strip of land. They control what goes in. So, right as soon as this conflict happened, they cut off food, water, gas, and stuff, and then started bombing the place.
oh my gosh, dude.
And sure, it's a military tactic to cut off supplies for a terrorist group, but when it's 50,000-ish terrorists with I don't know what the ratio is, but 50,000 terrorists to 2 million residents living there, where half of them are younger than 20 years old, and it's a war crime. That's what it is. What the terrorists did is a war crime. What Israel's doing is a war crime. So both sides suck. Like you said, Palestinians have been going through this for
Decades.
Yeah, Albin said decades. Might not have heard him.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, don't worry about it.
And
I don't know if you're able to put up the graphic, but there's a map showing when Israel was created after World War II. It shows Palestine and like how Palestine has become Israel over the past 70, 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just insane how it's all just changed. It's gone from like it was 99% Palestine before the UN stepped in and created Israel, and now it's like 99% Israel. All the Palestinian land was taken away, and you brought up the death toll numbers and everything. It's like 10-1 or more Palestinian compared to Israelis.
yeah, the big thing with this is asymmetry of violence, where the small amount of Palestinian violence is enlarged, where the giant amount of Israel violence is shrunk.
Subsidized. Yeah, I don't want to compare it to like slavery in America, but if I were to compare it, it would somewhat be like that. When there was a revolt, I'm sure you guys remember from U.S. history or anything. There was like a small revolt where the slaves went up and they killed a bunch of white people, and they just talked about it. Became a big thing where, oh, look at these slaves, they're revolting, we need to stop this, they're bad people, look what they do. And then the oppressors were the white people, and they were calling the slaves bad because they didn't want to be in that situation anymore. They're fighting to be free, and they're being told that they're the bad people. I feel like this is the same way, where the Palestinians are just trying to be free. They're not trying to be under Israeli order anymore. They just want to go back to what they used to have, and they're being called terrorists, which was put on them by others as well. Usually when the word terrorist is thrown around, it seems to be given to them.
The psychological association is terrorist Muslim.
Yes, essentially. So
That's the psyche, where
yeah, the
after
Western
9/11,
yeah,
the terrorists that struck the
Twin Towers.
I'm not going to provide any further comment because I just don't know. I was 1 year old when that
Right.
happened, so I have no. This is like the Israeli 9/11, so I'm trying to pay attention and see where the media is trying to take it. What is
Yeah.
that actual
human.
what the ties are really is kind of what you're trying to see, because almost immediately the media and the U.S. took Israel's side, and it's kind of funny because America was the oppressor to slaves, and now they're picking the side of the oppressor once again. But to be fair, the UN created Israel, so it kind of makes sense. It's kind of their creation.
Uh, the
It was formed after World War II.
Okay, but what I know is that predating that World War I, Britain promised that land to Jews
Mhm.
as a ploy to help them win World War I,
Right.
because they were making under the table deals with the Ottoman Empire and the I don't know what to call the group. I don't want to sound
Politically incorrect.
PC, or political, not PC. I don't want to sound not PC, but I'm just gonna say the Jews. They made an agreement with the Jews and the Ottoman Empire, whilst also making deals with France, where the actual thing that was gonna happen is it was gonna be a land divide between Britain and France.
Right.
And then Russia exposed what they were doing, so then they had to pick who were they were gonna help. So they helped the Jews. And I guess in in World War II, once the Holocaust was happening, they helped.
They went through with what they originally had promised.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like, why is Britain able to make these promises for a land that they don't control? You know,
Mhm.
it's very interesting how everything kind of goes back to Britain and colonists.
Yeah, with you bringing up slavery, one of them, another really relevant example would be, in the 50s going up to the 90s, is the apartheid state in South Africa. So that's
Right.
one of the labels they're giving to Israel, is that they're a colonial apartheid state, which is, I deleted the definition on the notes. It's a policy that's run on segregation, where in South Africa the whites were the minority, Africans constituted the majority, but since they were in government, they didn't. And in World War II, racism was looked at as very dangerous, so then they strengthened their segregation policy, where they would move Africans, um, Indians, and other colored people out of white neighborhoods to assert power. Like, they wouldn't allow interracial marriages. I've only very roughly read up on this, because I didn't know. I've always heard about the South Africa stuff, but I didn't know specifically, apartheid, what went into it. But that's where Nelson Mandela is known for,
Right.
being part of that. But also, what I've learned from Hassan is that Nelson Mandela was labeled as a terrorist by the U.S. during that time.
Yep.
But none of us, at least up to now, you didn't.
He's not viewed as that at all
No.
anymore.
No, it's not. No.
But then, one thing I noticed was when I was looking at their laws and whatnot, and then try to make the comparison to Israel, it is shockingly so similar.
Yeah.
Where it's, I think other places, other organizations have called them an apartheid state, colonial. It's slavery. They're essentially
Essentially,
colonialists. Like,
It all just goes back to oppressor and oppressed.
mhm.
Some people, I honestly would also agree with this. They say that it's somewhat of a ethnic cleansing or a genocide. I find it very ironic or hilarious that the community that was once a victim of this is now doing it to another community. Obviously, it's a horrible situation. I don't think that there's really much room to be neutral, because it's really saying you either agree with what's going on or you don't. And if you're not saying anything, usually I try to be silent as well when it comes to a lot of these situations. I'd rather not get involved, it's got nothing to do with me. But when something as big as ethnic cleansing is going on, it's hard to be silent. And again, it's very ironic how the once Jews that were getting uh, genocide on, like, by the Germans have now turned it around and are doing it to the Palestinians.
Um, mm, yeah.
And the same superpowers that that were against it are now kind of supporting it. I don't know if you want to bring up the monetary donations that might be arising from this.
Alvin brought up that Biden asked for $100 billion to aid Ukraine and Israel, and then when you sent me the tweet, I saw something about something for the border. So I think it's an all around package for aid.
Hmm.
So I don't know about specific dollar amounts being sent. In my opinion, I think they're going to be sending still a big amount to Ukraine because they have to keep up that political front.
Right.
But
I know.
do you remember how soon they started sending aid to Ukraine once that started?
I feel like it was almost immediately, probably around the same time frame, like a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That seems about right. We definitely have to fact check that, but I wouldn't say it was longer than a month. And if it wasn't monetary aid, it was military aid in terms of weapons. We might have started off with weapons, but Janet Yellen it was either in an interview or a congressional hearing, she said that the U.S. can definitely afford to fund another war.
Mm.
So to put things into perspective of what could happen, a lot of dollars could possibly be sent over there, depending on how long it takes, or how long it
That's a
goes
good
on.
segue to what I wanted to maybe end this part on, which is what we think is going to happen. So with you bringing up federal aid getting sent to the possibility of federal aid getting sent to Israel, which most likely it will be, just because Joe Brandon has already stated that he's for Israel, and then all these other Western countries are for Israel. Some outliers, though, I think is um, Ireland. Ireland.
I have no information on Ireland.
Well, basically, like any like very developed Western place is for Israel, and then people who have been oppressed or that are not very well developed,
They're for Palestine.
yeah.
I think there was one woman from Spain. I think she's in the UN. She said that it was a genocide, and a lot of people did not like that. So to put things into perspective, again, how you brought up how these celebrities can't really say it or else they'll get torn apart. The same thing is for a lot of these congressional people. But again, I feel like there's not much room to really stay silent. Sides have to be chosen.
I don't have direct links to where I've heard this from, but on like when Israel is making comments to the public, I think they've used the word like animals or beasts in reference to.
Yes, they have. They call them human animals, and that's why they don't deserve, the basics: food, water, etc.
The other side, you can say they're referring to the terrorists, and that they're saying what their actions were barbaristic, or is that
Cannibalistic.
Barbaric.
It's not barbaric.
Yeah,
This is not cannibalistic.
that'd be a little weird, but
But
it wouldn't surprise me if they were like that either in Israel.
but they, I think in the past also, Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, has said that there's no peace deal. Like he's not going to make a deal with the Palestinians. So I haven't given much evidence, but the headspace for that government, Israel government, is that they don't want to. They don't want to negotiate with Palestine. They want to find reasons to take it over.
Yeah, I've heard that. Not I've heard, but I've seen like people predict like this could lead. If people didn't think Russia and Ukraine would lead to World War III, that this definitely could. And if we are on the verge of genocide and ethnic cleansing, I'm sure that there would be other Muslim countries, predominantly Muslim countries, that might step in and save Palestine.
When the hospital got bombed, I think in Jordan, people started bombarding the Israel embassy,
hmm
and I guess that just shows like public sentiment. Where I don't know about any of the Middle Eastern regimes, what their alliances with. I think they are with the Palestinians, but they can't go to war. Or U.S. has said don't go to war, or we'll go to war.
Right.
And if Israel just keeps committing war crime after war crime, then there's a certain threshold where it's gonna get passed, and you just can't stand for it.
Exactly. Plus, if the war crimes keep being committed and Israel does succeed in whatever their goal is, there might be a few people that get out of there, and then you might actually have like a worse situation on your hands where they might actually plot and like do something that might actually deserve the title of terrorist per se.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just the overall bad situation. I've seen some posts here and there from certain people, where it's like the people that support Palestine, they're all left wing college students. Um, I don't know whoever's watching this, but I'm sure I'm probably not I'm not a left wing considered person at all. And it's also hilarious that they said it's left wing college students supporting Palestine when the president himself is left wing, and the
Supporting Israel.
most media is left wing supporting Israel. So, Western world in general is more liberal than the Eastern world. The Eastern world people, they say it's more religious, it's more harsh, and they say that they're not as free. So it's very hilarious that they say that only left wing college students are supporting Palestine.
I hate that it has to be a political issue.
Mhm.
Like when you hear that news, the media is going to try to get an outrage out of you because that's what sells first and foremost. They're a private company.
Right.
No matter who they're owned by, they need to make money. They show killings and bad news all the time so that you
Ratings go up.
so that you turn on the TV, look at the news, get outraged, look at more news, and then people get their revenue.
Go on YouTube comments, comment whatever you want under a burner account. Get your rage out that way.
And where was I going with this? What did I say?
You're talking about how news outlets and they need to get their dollars, their revenue.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was talking about the reaction. And so you look at the news and you get swayed by that, and then the YouTube comments, you get swayed by that. Whereas my first, the thing is, I had like a pre exposure to this that I already kind of knew about the Palestinian plight. So when I heard about the terrorist attacks, I wasn't immediately trying to take a side. Even though I was on the Palestinian side, I had to like look at it more thoughtfully. We discussed this on last week's episode, and then I kindly asked Liam to cut it out because I just didn't like the way I approached it. My view didn't change. I was still pro-Palestinian, but I dehumanized the conflict, which is women, children, elderly, sick, getting killed for no reason. Where, well, there's always a reason, but I think you know what I mean. Where
they shouldn't be affected, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, is what you're trying to say. It's like
Like,
these
you-
people
you
have no
shouldn't be-
business
You shouldn't be like
being involved in this.
like check your notes. Be like, all right, left, like Democrat, support the oppressed, got it. Or like Republican terrorists, all right, yell. Like, what? I never knew this was a thing, but last Friday was World Jihad Day.
I didn't know that either until you just said that.
Like,
that's the most random thing ever.
like, cause
Is that when they blamed it on the jihadists? It'd be hilarious.
I don't know
if they
so
did.
much about it because it just didn't make any sense to me. But I saw on Fox, they said FBI and other agencies warn about terrorist threats on World Jihad Day, which was Friday. And
Interesting. I wonder who created that day.
and
Who named it that day?
then I
For
saw
what
like
reason?
I saw a clip where it's like, oh, we've had these occasions happen on the past as well. And I was like, I don't remember once hearing about World Jihad Day.
Exactly.
So that immediate like mass hysteria, like following a terrorist conflict, just so happens to be that World Jihad Day is coming up that same week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, let me check. All right, terrorist attack, World Jihad Day. Oh my God, there's a lot of Muslims in my area. It's just-
Yeah. It makes you really think what, if what people who are right wing say is true, where it's like, oh, it's the Matrix. They want to control you. They control your mind. That way, you'll never go against them. Or
and then they
stuff
get
like
controlled.
That. Exactly. And then they always say like, don't listen, or the right wing people say, don't listen to the news because it's only trying to persuade you one way or another.
It's pick and choose, cherry picking. Everything.
Yeah.
Just whatever you want to believe, you pick it out.
Exactly. It's very annoying, and I don't think there's ever going to be clarity as to what's really going on behind the scenes. But that's just the way the world is currently. It's very sad to say.
What hit my heart? You were there on that day, but I went to the sauna with Celia, and there's this old white man. I don't know his background, so I'm not. He looked white, so I'm just gonna say he was white. Old white man talking with a Muslim dude. I came in the middle of the conversation, but what I heard him open up was with, I know you're Muslim, so this might be a touchy subject, but tell me why. And then started going on about Hamas, and then he followed back, and then he basically left the sauna, pointing at him and be like, Hamas like deserves to die, and Israel will do what it needs to do, walk out. And then he was trying to say his words, but literally that man like didn't really want to listen to him. He just wanted to end off with that sense and then leave.
It goes with the view that white people are racist and historically oppressors. So it definitely helps boost that stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some truth to it because, white people in the past have definitely been oppressors. And clearly not much has changed for certain people.
To go from Napoleon to this is crazy, to say the least.
And Napoleon put in his time in war. So he put in his time.
He put in the hours.
He put in the hours, It's all about drive. It's all about power. Shout out to The Rock.
We stay hungry. We devour.
Yes, sir.
The ground siege hasn't happened yet, where they're going to have soldiers come in, urban warfare. They're trying to bomb as much as they can to limit the threat when they have soldiers walk in, because they don't want to have soldier deaths. And I think another thing we didn't even mention was that they told Palestinians, they dropped pamphlets because they can't have people inside the territory like warning people, and they don't have electricity, so they can't send telephone warnings to people. They have to literally drop pieces of paper into Gaza telling them evacuate, go south, go wherever, and then when they're evacuating they get shot.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You think about it the same way that how the Germans in concentration camps, they would tell the Jewish people do this or do that, and then it would just be employed to just shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or the U.S. dropping pamphlets in Nagasaki and
Right.
We're gonna nuke you.
Yeah, we're gonna nuke
There's
you.
nothing you can do.
I don't know if you've seen that meme where the guy survived the first atomic bomb. He went to the he went to the other city, like he made it out before the first one dropped or something, or he survived the first one, went to the other city and then got nuked again. I don't know if you could put that meme on you could probably find it.
We'll look it up later. It'll be short. That's some dark humor.
Yeah, that's
That is
horrible
needed.
dark humor.
Yeah.
I evaded the first stink. Oh shit!
It literally goes right to the city of the second one.
Hiroshima, whichever one was bombed second.
Yeah,
Oh.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
God, my city's destroyed. I need to move somewhere else. Let me pick a random place on this map. All right, we'll go there.
This'll do.
Boom. Bro, that's like you're living in Chicago. Chicago gets bombed. Oh man, God, where am I gonna go next? Okay, you know what?
Let's go to Detroit.
Let's go to Detroit. Do, 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 do. Boom.
I think the better thing is like New York City's about to get nuked. Fuck. Want like cross country road trip. I'm in Los Angeles. Yay.
Yeah.
North Korea.
Yeah. Oh man.
Just when you thought you were safe.
Oh, I brought up the ground siege because I think that'll be the turning point. Like they'll bomb, they'll keep on bombing, whatever. They have jets and
Yeah.
they can just keep on bombing. But I don't know what the soldiers, because
It's just insane. You're
there's
fighting
there's been too many things in history where the soldiers have shot people protesting, have shot a Palestinian American journalist.
Yeah.
And almost every time, I think they blame it on Palestinians
Not
or
really.
say they incited it. So, with the physical presence of soldiers, and then they have to differentiate terrorists or Palestinian. They're both Palestinian. So, is it just going to be shoot on sight, or is it just going to be like, is Israel going to have to be like, all right, we need to look good for the press, try not to shoot civilians, and then a bunch of soldiers get killed, so then they're like, fuck that plan, shoot everybody.
Yeah, I mean, this again goes back to like slavery and even post-slavery with the civil rights movement, where a white person could just say like, "Oh, they looked at me wrong," and then they might get hanged or lynched.
There's a whole nother topic with,
Yeah.
do you know about like the settlers in the West Bank?
No.
I'm not gonna go too deep on it. We're already past like an hour 25, I think.
Yeah, long time.
I started that recording like well before I think you even got here.
Oh,
So
we're at an hour and a half.
let me see what the phone's at. Oh wait, actually, yeah, an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Wow. All right.
Well, whatever.
How much longer you guys want to go?
I just want to make sure we get our words out.
All right,
You know
let's
what?
get it.
But and also, I guess I don't want to just keep all this knowledge to myself. I want to let you guys know, and then whoever listens, they can know as well. But
This is for you guys out there watching.
yeah, for the children,
Cleveland.
I really wish
this is for you.
we don't have enough audience data, but I don't want to say that there's like children watching.
You could put the age restriction on there if you have to, but
Oh yeah. Say this is not for kids. Or
Yeah.
something.
I mean, we always do that though.
God, it hurts the algorithm though.
it does.
It does. Dude, what if we have that one little like 5th grader?
Oh my gosh!
If he's watching this, shout out to you.
Shout out.
I'll link you in the description.
Dad, he said fuck.
Dad, he said the Palestinians are.
We'll have to edit like before this section starts. If you were a little kid, turn this off now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close the video.
You do
End the
not
video.
need to know about this.
Yeah, get out of here.
Go enjoy Fortnite.
If anything, you guys could make this 2 separate videos since we're on a tangent.
We could.
Nah, I'd rather just keep it one, or because this is going to be uploaded anyway later in the week.
Right.
I'd rather have it be as as relevant as possible,
Right.
because you don't know where the media is going to go. But
Correct.
the settler thing is that Israelis have the right to return. So refugees, they've been sent out. They haven't had the chance to live in their holy land. So the Israel government has given Israelis around the world their right to return, whereas Palestinians don't have that right. They can't go back. Israel won't let them.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the right to return, and I think in the Israeli government's eye is that West Bank is their land as well. I don't know if they've officially said that, but you'll have Israelis from America, or Israelis from America come in, and they're allowed to settle in the West Bank, and the government supports that, and they're not going to go against their own people. So the settler is allowed to take a Palestinian home, build whatever he wants in the Palestinian home, can take what he want, do what he want. I think one news thing I saw was that there were um, Muslims praying at Al-Aqsa, what is it called?
There's a mosque.
Al-Aqsa Mosque, the big holy thing that when you look it up, it's like that big giant square,
Yeah,
the
and
holy
then
building.
Israeli
With the
people came
Mecca?
in.
Oh, it was the settler that shot him up or did something,
Right.
and the government was like, thumbs up.
And it was during Ramadan as well.
Yeah, and from Jared Kushner, he said that the Israeli government allows all religions to come to the mosque and peacefully do their prayers and whatnot. So when you hear something like that, it just makes such a stark conflict in your head, where like they're allowing these people to do that, and they weren't born here. They just like came and settled because the government allows it.
Yeah.
For them to do that. Another thing is like, I don't know if I think it's West Bank because they don't let people go into Gaza, but in the West Bank they build Israeli roads, so there's two separate license plates. I don't know the classification, but there's Israeli and then Palestinian license plate. So if you're Palestinian, you can't drive on their roads,
Mm.
and
Just
there's no system I think to it, so they just like build it where they want, and just like you can't cross here because they have checkpoints everywhere.
Right. Just goes into that whole segregation and slavery aspect that we've brought up throughout the video.
The only thing I want to say is I don't think it's slavery because they're not using the Palestinians
Right,
to work.
right.
They're just oppressing them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just trying to give a historical comparison as to how the groups are being treated.
I think, yeah, slavery is a good one to look at, but just from what I've been hearing is that the South African thing is like one of the best comparisons you can make because it was officially an apartheid state where they put into law and all of that, whereas slavery was like done around the world, and then
Right, yeah.
then it was kind of like a segregation policy.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like say it's a whole comparison. Slavery is horrible and everything. It might just be a mix of like all these atrocities into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Genocide, apartheid, just the aspects, everything to do with oppression, to say the least.
Yeah.
This is what it is. We didn't even bring up the 6-year-old that
in this area?
Yeah, in Chicago.
I wanted to bring that up. I just haven't. I saw that on someone else's posts, which I would never have heard of. But you say it because you probably know more details.
A 6-year-old was stabbed. I want to say 26. It might, but I know it was quite a few amount of times in Chicago, just because
by the tenant. By the tenant. Or
I didn't know it was by the tenant.
I think it was like the guy who owned the building, whatever. Like because he was Muslim, so he wanted to kill him.
Right. I think he knew he was Palestinian as well. Literally just for being Palestinian, this child was killed. I'm not sure if his mom also died. But yeah, a 6-year-old was killed because of something that's happening all the way across the world that he probably has no clue about. And to be stabbed 20 plus times, whatever the number may be, is just insane. So
I don't want to debate morals, but that 40 children killed article,
right, which was, I don't believe was real.
I think it is real. But
it's real?
But it's I think
One Piece.
I think it was Israel.
Yeah, I think they put it out. The propaganda machine was pushing.
But just for the sake of the quote unquote argument, 40 children killed, probably more children killed on the Israeli side, and then Israel bombs Gaza. 50% or more of the population is younger than 18 years old.
Right.
So high probability in one of the most
populated areas,
like most dense areas in the world, that when you bomb a building, there's a high likelihood that you are going to kill a child.
Right.
So I don't want to debate morals, but children are getting killed on both sides.
Yes.
So when that guy, I don't know what his motive was, but maybe he saw they are killing children, those terrorists killed children, I'll kill one of their children. And
yeah,
it's horrifyingly disgusting.
Yeah, and I think I did see a number. There was a post. It was like 40 Israelis compared to over 700 Palestinian children. In comparison, one makes worldwide headlines, the other is hardly talked about.
It's like I remember hearing about. I swear, like it was on the internet, always brought up, but like a white girl in America getting killed hits giant headlines, whereas like a black girl doesn't get as
Yeah.
much coverage.
Only local headlines,
Yeah.
if that.
So it's like you see it everywhere, and it sucks. And I wish peace for the world, man.
Yeah.
Like why do we have peace and love?
Yeah, all I know is like when it comes to mass media, if that's what's filling your head, you gotta find some different news because they're only trying to push what they want people to think.
And if you think that that's the only option out there, there's like so many unbiased news sources.
Yeah, independent.
Yeah, you just have to do
Journalists.
a little bit of digging. Just
And also
Put in-
confirmation, because like they may be independent, or like if you're just going on Twitter to look up live news, then you can't trust everything that you see.
Yeah.
But go on.
no, yeah. I mean, just all that being said, do your due diligence. Do your due diligence.
What? I'm not trying to defend Kanye, but I kind of wish I paid more attention to
Oh
what
my
he was
God,
saying
thank
during
you.
his
Dude,
Thank you
antics.
for saying that because man, Kanye was right, and I even when he said it because they went after Kyrie for posting an Amazon link to a movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they called him anti-Semitic, and Kanye was talking about Jews and how they own the music industry, like they own all, even Adam Silver. That's why the NBA put out a thing about it. They put out a statement. Adam Silver's Jewish. A lot of the NBA commissioners or owners, stuff like that, even with the NFL, a lot of these people that own things are Jewish, and that's what Kanye was trying to say. So it also kind of makes you wonder who owns media, what's being pushed out. You know,
I can't say that I fully agree. I don't know. You can't make the claim that Jews own everything. That's
of course
that's
not. But,
like racist just in that statement.
yeah,
Like you can make a conspiracy that they own everything, but just to stay relevant to this topic. Wait. Off topic. When Kanye was on Alex Jones's show,
oh God.
he had a net and then the Yahoo drink or whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. It's like that Australian milk, like chocolate milk or strawberry milk brand.
Yeah.
Nesquik.
Nesquik or no. Yeah, I think it's Yoo-hoo.
I think maybe Yoo-hoo, not Netanyahu.
Netanyahu or Netan.
Whatever. He had a drink that had like Yoo-hoo or whatever. So like whenever he brought up his name, he was like Netanyahu. Like every time, Netanyahu. And then eventually through the show, he was like, "I'm gonna put this down because I'm gonna get tired." Or I want to say this now. There's a Israel website that puts out names of people who don't support Israel. So I'll timestamp this. We're not advocating for the death of Israelis. We're not doing anything of that sort. We are just talking. So we're not like terrorists, whatever that website is going to say. If it says anything.
But if we're on another website, that means we're getting backlinks. So that means we're going to get more authority by Google. So we're going to grow organically.
The SEO mindset.
The
coming in.
SEO mindset. So, just kidding. So,
I might end up on that list.
I mean, if that thing is true, then millions of people are going to end up by that thing. And then you're going to have to debate the fucking authority of that.
They're just gonna go after big names. They don't give a fuck about regular ass citizens like us.
Yeah, I think our 119 subs won't make a big impact.
Hey, maybe we're at 500 after this video. Who knows?
that would be crazy.
But you put enough shorts out.
The only thing is I don't want to clickbait with Israel. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I
no.
feel so bad about that.
Yeah.
But
You gotta
like,
be
how
careful.
else are you gonna get clicks? Is
Right.
the thing. That's the YouTuber dilemma I'm having making this episode is
Morals versus
like
views.
the title, doping in sports. Like what's the second part gonna be?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking like you could do separate videos. The doping one, you could just like put it out whenever.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I feel like this
Yeah,
is
dope.
some of the main topic.
Mhm.
You could just put this one on your Sunday weekly.
And then doping just whenever
Yeah.
separately.
It doesn't have to be on Sunday, but you
Okay.
know, just an idea. But back to closing comments, or how we looking?
I think we can close it out if you've discussed everything you need to discuss.
There's not really too much to discuss. Alden, do you believe there is a solution where if it's either ethnic cleansing, one state, two state solution, anything, do you think there's a solution?
I don't think that there's a peaceful one, to say the least. Again, this is probably the closest thing that could bring us to World War III officially. Solution in terms of peace between the two, I don't think there ever will be. There's too much history there to where there just won't be. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen. I don't think this is anywhere near over.
The one state solution makes the most sense in my mind because they've been living separately for 70 plus years. It hasn't worked out. The only reason one state, multiple reasons. One big reason the one state thing doesn't work is because Israel is supposed to be the state for Jews, like their own country. But if you include Palestinians in that, then there'll be a big offset in the population ratios, like the demographics. So Netanyahu is afraid of Palestinians overriding the Jewish concern in terms of voting. But imagine the character arc of Israel doing the one state solution and bringing peace. Like imagine the character arc, like conflict, one state solution, Russia ends conflict, everybody.
I just don't think that's even a plausible solution.
No, it's not,
That's
but-
saying that the Palestinian people would give up their name and go under the
Yeah,
Israel title.
Yeah.
So it's really, what would the one state be called? Because I don't think you could call it Palestine or Israel. It'd have to be a completely different name.
Palsreal.
It's not going to be a combination either. It's gonna be
Israel.
Wow.
I don't. Wait, Liam, repeat that.
No comment.
All right.
Maybe the mic picked it up. Piss real is what he said. That's just.
Whether or not that stays in the video is up to you guys. But yeah, I don't see a one state thing happening whatsoever. I honestly think World War III is the most likely outcome out of this.
Jeez.
You think the industrial complex wins this out?
Honestly, I don't know. If we
We need to
I
make
don't
money,
think,
so let's do war.
yeah, we probably don't have the time to dive into this topic,
No,
but
we don't.
America like falling in terms of currency. Currency usually changes every 100 years or so. I think America is pushing 120 years. I think they officially became the world reserve currency right after World War One ish.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people are debating whether America's time at the top is done and when the downfall is arriving, or what the new world reserve currency is. Because when you have the world reserve currency, you basically control most.
What if they rename it to World War on Terrorism?
Then I don't know. You'd have to define terrorism.
No, because like the U.S. justification for going to the Middle East,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they called it the War on Terrorism.
Right.
So like, is this gonna be spun as the World War on Terrorism?
Then I think you're basically just calling. You're basically just gonna call Muslims terrorists, like to say it
But
in
like,
simple terms.
it's nuts. I heard this quote from Nelson Mandela today. I think it's a good one to end off on. It was in the 90s Israel-Palestine was going on during then. There was stuff in Libya as well. I think something with Fidel Castro as well going on. Some guy asked him about.
Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat. Are these your models of leaders of human rights? And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
The first line that he said,
one of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
thank you for listening to Grandma's Pillbox. Catch you in the next episode.